Hi there, this is Jenny from the Sewing Palace in Helena, Montana. Have you ever been interested in learning how to quilt? Well, today I'm going to show you a couple of the tools and gadgets that you'll need to get started. To start quilting, you'll obviously need a sewing machine. So today I have a Bernina 215 sewing machine. The really nice accessory to have when you're quilting on your sewing machine is one, a slide-on table, and two, a 1/4 inch foot. So on a Bernina brand sewing machine, you can get a 1/4 inch foot in many styles. For this machine, I'm going to use foot number 37. So you can go to your Bernina dealer and find that. Also, for any other branded machine, you'll just want to make sure you have a 1/4 inch foot. That makes your seam accurate and consistent over a period of many seams. So that's super important. The other thing that you'll want to start collecting is all the tools and gadgets for cutting, measuring, and ironing and pressing. So for that, I'm going to first talk about the thread. So this is cotton thread. It's from a company called Orifil, which is an Italian thread. It doesn't make a lot of lint. It's very strong, but it's also fine. So when it's in your seam and you press your seam open, it doesn't take up a lot of space. This is a 50 weight cotton thread, and I highly recommend Orifil thread. We have that on our website. We also have it here in the shop, or you can go to your local quilt shop and find a really good quality cotton thread. If you have a good quality cotton thread, you won't build up a lot of lint in your sewing machine, and it will also be strong in your seams. So those are things to consider. Once you've got your sewing machine and your 1/4 inch foot and your thread, you now need to cut up fabric. So to cut up fabric, you'll need some sort of rotary cutter. This is a Olfa brand rotary cutter. This is an ergonomic cutter, and when you depress the handle, the blade is exposed. When you let go, it's covered. So you can't hurt yourself on the blade when it is covered. So this is an ergonomic cutter. There are lots of cutters out there. Here's another cutter. This is another Olfa brand. This millimeter is 60 millimeters, I think, and this is 45 millimeters. This will be perfect as far as this size, but you can also buy a 45 millimeter cutter in this style. The thing I like about this style is you can either be left-handed cutter or a right-handed cutter without having to move your blade on the system. On this one, if you're a right-handed cutter, you want the blade facing you when it's in your right hand. If you're a left-handed cutter, you need to move the blade to the other side. So you want to be aware of that if you have an ergonomic cutter. My favorite is from Quilter Select, and it is a style like this, but it's very stout and heavy. I also want to talk about that blade. When you expose the blade, you pull this lever down, and then when you cover it, so if I were to touch that, that would be a sharp surface. When you cover it, you have to pull the blade out, and then that is safe. So whenever you set your blade down, don't leave it down like this, because it could just take a hit of your hand, or you could knock it down, or it could fall on the floor. So you want to be super careful with these. They're an awesome pizza cutter for fabric. So you need a rotary cutter. You also need a rotary mat. So the rotary mat is underneath. It's this green mat. You want a self-healing mat. Rotary mats do not like sun or heat, and they like a flat surface. So when you store it, you could put it under your bed or leave it on a table so that it doesn't warp or bend. With that mat, you'll need some sort of ruler. So this is a square ruler. You can also get strip cutters that are long and slender. Then you can also start getting specialty rulers. This is a specialty ruler that makes a block called a flying geese. So the brand that I really like is Creative Grids. They have a really easy to read surface. They have a non-skid edge all the way around, and then little circles that are non-skid. It's in black and white, pretty easy to see on all your fabrics. But there are many cutters out there, or rulers out there. The one thing you want to be aware of on the ruler is the width of the line. If it is printed by doing not a silk screen or not a laser, then those lines can be really thick. And if you're on the inside of the line or the outside of the line, that can make a difference in your cutting and your accuracy. So you want a very nice, sharp line that's done with a laser and is very accurate. So that when you actually measure over, it is the measurements of 1, 2, or 3, or 3.5 inches. So be aware of that when you're looking for rulers. Then of course the fun stuff, the fabric. You have lots of choices of fabric. You want a high quality, high thread count cotton fabric that is easy to use and it doesn't fray. So at independent quilt retailers, you're going to find lots of high quality cotton fabrics. There's many companies out there that make fabrics, but you do want to be aware that printed fabrics will have a bright side and then the wrong side of the fabric will be a little duller. There's also hand-dyed fabrics that are bright in color on both sides, but you do want to have a nice high quality cotton fabric to work from. A couple other tools that I forgot to mention. You need some scissors to cut your threads, and you can get a short handled scissor like this. This is about 5 inches is what they would call this scissor, and this is just for snipping threads and things like that, because the majority of your cutting of the fabric is going to be done with a rotary cutter. Then you'll need an iron, a nicely weighted iron with a good stainless steel or heavy base on the bottom of it so that it is going to press your fabrics really well. And then an ironing board, or my favorite method is using either the Laura Star iron system or a woolly pressing mat. So that's what this gray item is. It comes in various sizes. When you press your seams, you will have a little bit of bulk where the seams line up. And so if you have a surface that kind of it sinks into, your quilt fabrics will lay flat in your block. And then there is a few utensils that sometimes help people for accuracy and keeping their fabrics from stretching. And that is a starch substance of some sort. And one of the ones that's out there is called Best Press. It comes in scents or non-scented, but this is a great starch alternative if you want to pre-starch your fabrics prior to cutting. Then of course there's the question of washing or not washing your fabric. When you buy your fabric off the bolt, if you've bought a really high quality cotton fabric, it's really easy to work with. It's already flat, it's not wrinkled, and it's easy to start cutting. The idea behind pre-washing is to pre-shrink or maybe make all the colors that possibly will run come off of the fabric. If you've bought a really high quality cotton fabric, then my theory is you don't need to pre-wash your fabrics for quilting. They will shrink upon the first laundering, but I actually like that little bit of wrinkled, loved look on my quilt when I wash it for the first time. So I am not a person that pre-washes their fabric. The only time I do that is when I make garments, because I want those fabrics to be all shrunk down prior to making the size of clothing that I want to fit my body. So those are pretty much the gadgets. I think I've covered everything, so you can go ahead and get started quilting. If you have any questions, stop on into the Sewing Palace or visit our website, thesewingpalacebernina.com. Bye-bye.